Phantom Train is one of the most unique pieces of lore established within Final Fantasy. After first appearing in Final Fantasy VI, it has made sporadic appearances since, but often makes an impression when it does. The specific origins of the Phantom Train are unclear, and given its nature, it may not have a specific origin at all. Stories of ghosts date back as far as written language, and religious and mythological tales often speak of the soul having to make a journey to the afterlife or the underworld, but none bear a particularly strong resemblance to the idea of a vehicle that transports the souls of the dead. Ghost stories about mysterious vehicles that vanish from sight date back as far as humanity has had vehicles, from horse-drawn carriages to sailing ships to trains and automobiles. While Japan has many such stories itself, there is no clear inspiration for the Phantom Train in either classical or modern Japanese folklore. A possible inspiration behind the Phantom Train can be found by connecting it to the larger narrative of Sabin's scenario. The Lethe River and Ultros, also called Orthros, are terms taken from Greek mythology. Greek myth also contains the term katabasis, which means go down. A katabasis typically means a journey into the underworld, but any form of travel that fits the definition of a descent could broadly be considered a form of katabasis. When one leaves the underworld and joins the world of the living, this is an anabasis, and together with the katabasis, they reflect someone reaching the furthest point from home they could go, which is usually the underworld, and then returning. Sabin's scenario fits this understanding of a katabasis. Sabin travels south to Dharma, where he and Cyan flee from the Empire laying siege to Dharma Castle, and then they travel further south to the Phantom Forest where they board the Phantom Train and then escape. The two leap down barren falls to the Veldt, and then swim through the Serpent Trench to reach Nakia and sail to Narshe. Sabin's goal throughout his journey is to eventually make his way back to his companions, and just as in a katabasis, each leg of Sabin's journey is some sort of a descent. It ends with his ascent by swimming north to finally rejoin his friends, but only after he has traveled as far south as he could possibly go. A katabasis that ends with an anabasis is a story of rebirth from death and symbolizes hope for renewal from devastating loss, which are core themes of Final Fantasy VI. Sabin even begins his journey by meeting a metaphorical representation of death, an assassin clad in black and accompanied by a black dog, who claims death follows him. It is unknown if Sabin's scenario was purposefully structured as a katabasis, but the parallels are striking, and his journey on the Phantom Train fits perfectly into the concept. The Phantom Train is an old-fashioned steam-powered locomotive, which is so badly rusted that it appears brown or bronze. It has pipes running along its exterior, and a cowcatcher on the front with a lantern mounted on it. The Phantom Train varies on if it appears as just the engine, or hauling a load of cars behind it. The cars it hauls are largely passenger cars, with carpeted floors, curtained windows, and cushioned seats, which are green in the first-class cabins and blue in second class. It is highly unlikely that the Phantom Train is based on a specific historical train, but it does greatly resemble the types of steam locomotives that were used in Japan in the early 1900s. Based on its wheel configuration, it would be a 2440 engine using white notation, denoting it possesses a pair of leading wheels and two pairs of driving wheels, with each pair being individually piston-powered. Taken with its overall appearance, the Phantom Train most closely resembles a mallet locomotive. Japan used mallet locomotives at the turn of the century, before mallets fell out of use in favor of the superior Garrett model. There only ever existed one type of 2440 engine used in Japan, the JGR 9020, which was modified from a 0440 engine by adding a pair of leading wheels. Only 6 JGR 9020 engines existed, and were in operation from 1911 to 1925 before they fell out of use, and all of them were scrapped. The Phantom Train ferries the souls of the dead to the afterlife, and briefly crosses into the mortal realm to make stops to pick up passengers, the recently departed. Across other appearances, this has been expanded into the capacity to travel between dimensions, and the living may be permitted to use it for transportation. The engine is sapient and able to speak, and also seems to run itself as it has few crew aboard, save for a conductor and a pair of ghosts that operate a dining car. While the Phantom Train most often appears as an enemy or story feature, it is sometimes a summon. It first appeared in this capacity in Final Fantasy VIII, which named it Doomtrain in the English translation. The appearance of Doomtrain is very different from the Phantom Train, a white and orange locomotive that appears to be made of demonic flesh and bone, with a ghostly face on the front of the engine. Since then, the entity has usually been called the Ghost Train or the Phantom Train when it is based on its Final Fantasy VI design, and Doomtrain when it is based on its Final Fantasy VIII design. Despite the difference in name and appearance, the two have come to be considered the same entity in later games. The Japanese name for Doomtrain is Glacial Labolis, and some localizations have used this name in English as well. Glacial Labolis is a demon who is the president of Hell and commands 36 legions of demons, and is depicted as a dog with the wings of a griffin. Glacial Labolis has been used in other Final Fantasy games as the name of a giant-type enemy, so why the name was suddenly used in this context to refer to a ghostly locomotive is unclear. On the other hand, this is the same franchise where a talking purple octopus was named after a two-headed dog from Greek mythology. Sometimes, a name is just a name. The Phantom Train is associated with status ailments like poison and doom. Its signature attacks are Diabolic Whistle, which summons ghosts to attack the party, Acid Rain, creating a corrosive downpour, Saintly Beam, a holy elemental attack that calls down rays of light, and Wheel, which rolls a train wheel at a character for physical damage. Being a train, it can also attack by simply ramming and running over its target. When it appears as a summon, its attack is usually Runaway Train, which has it run over enemies. The Phantom Train first appeared in Final Fantasy VI. After Sabin, Cyan, and Shadow flee the Empire when Dharma is conquered, they journey into the Phantom Forest and find the Phantom Train at an old boarding platform. Believing it to be just a normal train at first, they go aboard to check for other survivors, and are trapped in the train when it departs. The three set out for the engine to shut the train down and make their escape, but when they pull the final switch that should deactivate it, the train is revealed as sapient and attacks, with the party running along the tracks away from it during the battle. When defeated, the Phantom Train agrees to let them go when it makes its next stop, and as the three disembark, they see the boarding passengers are those that were killed in the siege of Dharma, including Cyan's wife and child. Cyan runs after the train as it departs, his family coming outside to bid farewell to him. The Phantom Train is later revisited in Cyan's dreamscape. Its interiors host various puzzles involving the environment objects moving about when switches are pulled, reflecting Cyan's fear and hatred of mechanical devices. An infamous meme among the Final Fantasy fan community centers on Sabin using his blitz Meteor Strike, or Suplex in the Super NES translation, on the Phantom Train. Sabin's ability to leap into the air carrying an entire locomotive, and ostensibly all the cars it is hauling, has been called one of the most iconic moments of the game, and has even been acknowledged in official Square Enix marketing material. To this day, Suplexing the train, as the scene is called, is almost a rite of passage for anyone playing Final Fantasy VI. A video calling the moment the greatest moment in Final Fantasy VI has almost 1 million views, and depicts Sabin, highly overleveled and powered up by Berserk, defeating the Phantom Train in a single hit from Suplex. The feat has also been referenced in a great deal of fanworks. A misconception is that the bosses in Final Fantasy VI are generally immune to Meteor Strike, and the Phantom Train's vulnerability was an oversight or a glitch that was not corrected in later releases due to the fame of the meme. This is simply incorrect. Several bosses in Final Fantasy VI are vulnerable to Meteor Strike, including most of the 8 dragons and the Guardian. Even so, phrases like suplexing a dragon and suplexing a robot simply don't have the same ring to them as suplexing a train, so it is the ability to do so to this boss that Sabin is remembered for. The Phantom Train appears in the Dawn of Souls and Anniversary ports of the original Final Fantasy, alongside Ultros, Typhon, and Deathgaze, as a boss from Final Fantasy VI. The 4 appear on the Whisperwind Cove, an optional dungeon unlocked after defeating Tiamat. On the 30th floor of the Whisperwind Cove, the Warriors of Light find a village that is rotting and decaying, and its inhabitants are sickly and tell the Warriors of Light that their village got this way because of the Phantom Train's presence. When it is defeated, the village is restored, and the player can progress. Due to Final Fantasy's simpler battle system, the Phantom Train is limited to physical attacks and Acid Rain, which deals non-elemental damage to the party. When defeated, it drops a Mega Elixir. Final Fantasy IV The After Years once again features the Phantom Train as a quartet of bosses from 6, this time fought in the depths of the True Moon. It has the unique attack Wheel, which it uses as a counter-attack and deals massive damage, and can also use Doom, Holy, and Diamond Dust, the latter attacks acting as substitutes for Saintly Beam and Acid Rain. It leaves no material rewards for defeating it, the encounter acting as just another in a list of otherworldly foes the party faces during their descent. The Final Fantasy VIII creature Doomtrain is a guardian force. It is acquired by using Solomon's Ring when the party has 6 steel pipes, 6 Malboro tentacles, and 6 Remedy Plus in their inventory, symbolizing its mechanical nature, affiliation with status ailments, and demonic origins. Doomtrain does not learn any stat junctions, but junctions for elemental and status attacks, and 4 times for elemental defense and status defense. It can refine items into elixirs and stat boosting items, and allows the party to contact a junk shop to remodel their weapons from anywhere. Doomtrain's summon attack is Runaway Train, and deals poison elemental damage and inflicts many status ailments on all enemies. As the GF of Poison, it is opposed to Alexander, the GF of Holy, and summoning one lowers compatibility with the other. Ironically, Alexander is needed to acquire Doomtrain, since its refinement ability is the only way other than Doomtrain itself the player can acquire 6 Remedy Plus. In the Queen of Cards side quest, the player must lose Alexander to the Queen of Cards in order to acquire Doomtrain's card. The Phantom Train in Final Fantasy XIV appears in the Sigmascape, one of 4 raids created by Omega from data it has acquired in other worlds. The Phantom Train is the first of 4 Final Fantasy VI bosses, followed by Shadownook, the Guardian, and Kefka. The party faces the Phantom Train on a platform pulled by another locomotive ahead of it. The Phantom Train retains its Saintly Beam and Acid Rain attacks, and can project light from its lantern as well. It can summon aids called Putrid Passengers to attack, during which time it pulls up alongside the party on an adjacent track. After the Putrid Passengers are killed, the party can leap up onto the Phantom Train and attack its smokestack, giving it a significant health loss. It can also use Diabolic Whistle to summon ghosts that pursue the party, which can be dispelled by lowering the ghosts into the light of Saintly Beam. If these ghosts grab a party member, they are teleported into a passenger car where they must defeat the ghosts to return to the normal battle. However, after its smokestack is destroyed, the Phantom Train will use Throttle, which will kill the party in 20 seconds, and the only way to avoid this is to be in a passenger car when Throttle is cast, or be teleported into one during the countdown. Thus, the only way for players to survive is to allow themselves to be temporarily taken on board by the ghosts. Throughout the fight, players must also avoid being knocked off the arena, or they are instantly KO'd. The Phantom Train is also alluded to briefly in the main questline, when Ida and Ishtola infiltrated an Imperial base. Ida mentions the Imperial transport is referred to as the Phantom Train, due to the uncomfortable conditions aboard. In Dissidia Duodecim Final Fantasy, the Phantom Train appears as an arena, with players fighting inside one of its passenger cars. The locomotive itself is not seen. It is the smallest arena in the game, with very low ceilings and narrow areas, making it very difficult to evade an opponent and attacks that hit over large areas. In an official quest, Squall faces Cloud in the Phantom Train during the 12th cycle. The Phantom Train plays a critical role in the lore of Dissidia NT in setting up a future addition to the roster. A stage performance, Dissidia Final Fantasy Secretum Himitsu, had voice actors for the characters act out their roles in a storyline in the game. The story follows Cloud, Squall, and Tidus, as Materia sends them to investigate a shooting star she saw. They find an amnesiac young man, and later the wreck of the crashed Phantom Train. Over the course of the story, it is explained that the man was dead and being transported on the Phantom Train as it passed through the void, and he escaped the train and landed in World B with no memories. Sephiroth, or rather a clone of him, was also on the Phantom Train and roused the other souls to help him capture the man. The Sephiroth clone claimed the man had a treasure with him that he could use to take the souls to the Promised Land, and the souls caused the Phantom Train to derail and crash in World B. Tidus finds the crash site and sees the spirit of Auron, who tells him what the Sephiroth clone has done, and Tidus attempts to calm the restless souls before they turn into fiends. The young man regains his memories and is revealed to be Locke, who died in the Phoenix Cave and was on his way to the afterlife when he escaped the Phantom Train, unwilling to accept death since he still had to fulfill his promise to Rachel. Now remembering the treasure he found and how to use it, Locke summons Phoenix from its Magicite shard, and the power of Phoenix restores his life and frees the souls aboard the Phantom Train to be reincarnated. This event acted as the official reveal of Locke as an addition to Dissidia NT, which occurred the following year. In Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, the Phantom Train is named the Farplane Express in the English translation, but its Japanese name is the same as the Phantom Trains. It is introduced in the game's third season as a means for the party to travel to worlds to close wormholes caused by the Hollow. It is revealed that a man named Bruce transformed the Esper Doomtrain into the Farplane Express so it could be used as a form of transportation between worlds to combat the Hollow. When the party is betrayed by Rinoa, the conductor of the Farplane Express, he removes the pilosite that transformed the Esper, causing it to revert to Doomtrain and attack the party. The party later finds another piece of pilosite to turn Doomtrain back into the Farplane Express. Brave Exvius is the first time that Doomtrain and the Phantom Train are explicitly stated to be the same creature under different names, and its design is a combination of the Mechanical 6 design and the Demonic 8 design. As a unit in battle, Bruce is able to summon Doomtrain as an attack, and it can instantly KO enemies and inflict status ailments. Final Fantasy Record Keeper features the Phantom Train as a boss on several occasions, and Doomtrain is summoned by Quistis as her Overstrike Soulbreak. Quistis is also able to call Doomtrain as a Limit Break Guardian summon. The Phantom Train appears in Mobius Final Fantasy as a card summon, with an appearance similar to but distinct from its 6 design, and it uses Runaway Train as its attack. Final Fantasy Tactics and Theatrhythm Final Fantasy have the Phantom Train cameo, and Tactics as a wonder and at Theatrhythm in the background of the stage for Terra's theme. Final Fantasy Unlimited has the Interdimensional Train, also called the Ghost Train, which the characters use to travel between worlds. The train is constantly under attack by Omega, an ancient eldritch being that was split into pieces and scattered, and is attempting to reform itself. It happens that the interdimensional train is powered by one of Omega's fragments. Thank you to everyone for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more lore of Final Fantasy in the future, and stop by the community tab on my channel to vote on the next subject.